This is it, people. This is history in the making.
Those astronauts, Doug Hurley and Bob Bank, soil in 9 years. You need some space jams. We're told they drove over to the launch pad listening to AC/DC's Back in Black, The Girl from Ipanema, and the Star-Spangled Banner. That is a varied playlist, to say the least. I want to go straight to CNN's Rachel Crane, who was at the Kennedy Space Center. Rachel, if this happens, this will be the first time a commercial company has brought humans into orbit. NASA just said the launch chances have risen to 70% now as the weather improves.
Oh, good.
About what's happening right now in these final minutes.
Well, John, first I got to tell you, I'm starting to get butterflies because I can tell you here on the ground, I don't see any clouds in sight over Launch Pad 39A. So we are really crossing our fingers and toes that this launch takes off. It kind of feels like it's going to. So right now, let me tell you what's happening with this rocket. They're loading over 1 million pounds of fuel right now. That's liquid oxygen and kerosene. The crew access arm has been retracted. The launch escape system has been armed. As you said, Bob and Doug are strapped into the capsule. Now, 5 minutes out, that's when terminal countdown begins. And this is when Dragon's onboard computers take control of the vehicle, and then the strong back retracts. 1 minute before launch, Falcon 9 will be in startup mode. That's when the computers autonomously take control of the countdown. 45 seconds before launch, the launch director will say, go for launch. 2 seconds before countdown, those 9 Merlin engines will ignite. And at T-0, hopefully today, we will see the historic launch of Crew Dragon once again, having American astronauts launch from American soil on American rockets for the first time in 9 years, John. So, you know, as you can tell, I'm pretty jazzed about this. Space nerds all across the country are pretty jazzed about this. And I'm sure you're a little excited too, because I know you have a little space nerd in you, John.
I am super excited. And just so people know the stages that we're going to
T-minus 20 minutes to launch.
A bunch of different checks tomorrow. CNN's Rachel Crane is at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Rachel, we are now exactly eight minutes. What's the latest?
Well, John, as you pointed out, we're just 8 minutes away from the scheduled liftoff of 3:22 local time here at Kennedy Space Center. And, you know, typically we would be seeing tons and tons of people flooding out of buildings all around us, coming out to watch what we all are thinking is going to be the historic launch of Crew Dragon here today. But those crowds aren't here at Kennedy Space Center. That's because, of course, this launch is happening during the corona pandemic. But I got to tell you, despite not having those crowds, despite just having a handful of media here to cover this, as opposed to the, you know, over 1,500 people that normally would be covering this, you feel energy in the air. That's because it actually feels like this rocket is about to take off, that history is about to be made today, that once again, America will have a homegrown way of ferrying our astronauts back and forth to the international.
From history.
1 minute.
Ground gas closeout is starting.
Here we go.
Falcon 9 is in startup. Dragon is in countdown. FTS is armed for launch.
Under a minute now, the
Go
FTS,
for
the flight
launch.
termination system, has been armed.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
SpaceX Dragon, we're good for launch. Let's light this candle.
T-minus 30 seconds.
We
Fuel tanks for a
have
second flight.
liftoff.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA. Go SpaceX. Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
America has launched. It still rises a new era of American space.
We've done it.
T plus 30 seconds into this historic mission. Flying crew on board Dragon and Falcon 9, and look at them go.
Falcon power entry nominal.
M1D throttle down.
We're throttling down to get ready for the period of maximum dynamic pressure. We're in the throttle bucket. Reports say all systems are go.
Vehicle is supersonic.
We've exceeded Mach 1 on the Falcon 9.
M1D throttle up.
We're throttling back up to full power as we're through next Q.
Copy 1 Bravo.
And we heard that 1 Bravo call out. That's just the second abort zone that they're in. They'll continue to be on this until the first stage has done its job. They switch over to the second. At this point, Bob and Doug pulling about 2.3 Gs, 2.3 times the Earth's gravity, already moving at over 1,500 miles per hour.
We've heard the call out for MVAC engine chill. That's getting the MVAC engine ready to light. That'll come at about 2:44 into flight. Right now, everything continuing to look good. Next major event coming up is going to be the triple. We'll have main engine cutoff of the 9 first stage engines, stage separation, and then ignition of the second stage engine to continue to carry astronauts into orbit. Coming up in about 20 seconds.
M1D throttle down.
We heard we're throttling down the Merlin engines on the first stage. And we have Miko.
Pico.
2 Alpha. Falcon stage separation confirmed.
Copy 2 Alpha.
Back ignition.
All right, we have stage separation confirmed. The first stage beginning its flight back. The second stage being powered by that single Merlin 1D vacuum engine has ignited and is now carrying Bob and Doug into orbit. So they're going to continue under the power of this second
Stage
stage,
2 propulsion is nominal.
which will cut off at SECO, or second engine cut off, at about 8 minutes and 44 seconds into today's flight. So a little over 5 minutes to go still on this second stage. You heard the call out to Alpha, so they're now in the longest abort zone that carries them all the way from about North Carolina up the eastern seaboard almost to Canada. Things looking good though, getting good call outs, nominal propulsion on that second stage. Bob and Doug continuing to make their way into orbit.
Dragon SpaceX nominal trajectory.
Acquisition of signal Bermuda.
We did it! History has been made!